This is P1 listener James Elliott, and you're watching the X Factor podcast. Brought to you by Bottom Gun Coffee. Now be different or be invisible.
Let me talk to you. Let me talk to you. Let it rain. Let me talk to you. Come on. So they had them apple bottom jeans with the fur. The whole club was looking at her. She hit the floor. Next thing you know, shawty got low. Them baggy sweatpants and the Reeboks with the straps. Turned around and gave that big booty a smash. She hit the floor. Next thing you know, shawty got low. Yeah. Never seen nothing that'll make me go this crazy.
Oh, that's good. That's great.
So, John,
Yes.
Houston, we have a problem.
What is the problem?
Usually there's a bottom square that isn't me on this.
Where is
And
it?
it's our show producer.
He's
And
missing.
that is a very generous job title.
Yes.
Welcome to the X Factor podcast. I have no idea what episode number this is. My entire life is a blur right now.
Yes.
So I couldn't tell you what the episode number is. However, I do know we are producerless, which means this won't get deleted and everything will probably function much better.
Yes.
You want to know why we are producerless today, folks? It is because the DFE, the director of the deleter of frickin' everything, Parker, is so when we were planning the episode, and we have this group text that we constantly communicate in, at least John and I do.
Right.
Parker says, I won't be able to record the podcast today coming back from Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was at a Florida concert, which is the song you just heard from the one-hit wonder Florida. The song is Low. Most people probably know it more as like the apple bottom jeans and boots with the fur song.
Right.
Fun fact, Parker's GPA at Liberty University was so low,
Yeah.
it had the boots with the fur. That's how low it was.
I love it.
So I have no idea what that kid is doing at Florida, but apparently he's on his way back from Florida. Do you think he got either of us a concert t-shirt?
Well, I don't know. We'll see. Usually he doesn't. Usually he gets me something and you nothing.
Well, I said either of us, so you could say, yeah, he got me something for sure.
True. Yeah. Maybe he'll get you boots with a fur for when you're drinking your pumpkin spice lattes.
I would like Uggs with the fur.
Uggs with the fur? Aren't those boots?
Wasn't
with
your
the fur?
idea Uggs flip-flops?
Yeah, that was my idea. Yeah. Summer.
We should do that.
Yeah, why not?
JR, how are you, buddy?
I am good. It's Sunday night. We're recording this. It's sort of the end of a nice weekend. Good weather down here in North Carolina. How about Maine? What's life like in Maine?
Quintessential fall in New England sort of weekend weather.
Ah,
Yeah. 65, cool, crisp, like
ooh, I love it.
sweatshirt weather.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And I understand Chin Up, Chest Out's got its fall collection coming out soon. Is that right?
Yeah. And for the first 6 listeners who use the promo code POD, that's POD, first 6 listeners, you'll get 10% off your first order.
Great.
So head on over to chinupchestout.com. The fall collection will be released on September 22nd, which, JR, is the first day of
Pumpkin spice latte season?
It started like July.
Oh, true. Fall, isn't it fall?
First day of fall. Yes,
Yeah,
the
excellent.
first day of fall, which I believe is a Wednesday. So, it's a seasonal collection. We're going to have a flannel shirt.
That's
Uh,
what I like. I want.
we're
That's
gonna
what I
have
want.
you'll look like a lumberjack, and that'd be okay. You work all night and you sleep all day.
Exactly.
We're gonna have some hoodies, new T-shirts. We got some dry fit, skin tight performance shirt,
Oh, there you go.
camo print logo.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll be teasing that on our social media channels. But head over to chinupchestout.com and take a look at what we have going on. John,
Yes.
did I? Somebody told me that you have a new book out. Is it?
It is true. Why did you hear it from what is Admiral? What's his name?
Admiral Jones of the East
Admiral
Indian Navy?
Jones.
No.
Yeah, he might have mentioned it.
No, there's a very attractive young lady that I ran into on the beach, and she was reading a copy of All in the Same Boat
Yes.
while tanning, getting some sun in her bikini. And I was just curious. I saw that you had a picture or several pictures on your Instagram of this same young lady that I ran into. So
Yeah. So
I
she's
mean,
a
I just thought I'd
future.
ask you about this new book.
She's a future leader. Yeah, all in the same boat. It's right up here on the shelf. We got a copy. We got many copies right here available. All in the Same Boat is the book. It's all at the same boat. Book.com is where you can get it. And it's we got signed copies, but you can also get it on Amazon. And there's also an Audible book is done. It's out there. So for people who have Audible subscription, they're too busy to sit and read a book. You can hear the book as you go to work, cut your lawn, or work out in the gym.
And if you go to audible.com/Coach Brew, I think you get a discount or your first audio book free or something like that, which won't affect your royalty, John. You'll still get paid.
Oh, good.
But yeah, it's audible.com/Coach Brew. You're welcome, people. John,
Yes, sir.
did you hear about the fire that took place over the weekend?
No, I didn't. What fire?
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't hear about it because you're an alum of this esteemed institution of higher learning.
No, I must have missed it. I've kind of been disconnected this weekend, so at least from news.
So yeah, Cambridge,
Yeah,
that's where you got your graduate degree, right?
it is. Yes.
So Cambridge, their library burned down.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
wow.
was tragic. All 5 of the books were ruined.
Now, come on. It's one of the
The
oldest.
worst-
We studied this, one of the oldest universities in the world.
The worst part of that is none of them had been colored in yet.
Cambridge University. Now, come on. It's an elite institution.
So they're going to need you to donate some copies of your books.
I will do
They
it.
rebuild. They will rebuild.
I've got 5, 6 copies here. We can send over them. By the way, Coach Brew and those who are watching on YouTube, I don't know if you see, finally got my new flag. I don't know if you see it. My from the Sasquatch Flag Company. They finally sent it to me, and it's it's really nice. And
he's real, and he makes flags. Apparently, Sasquatch.
He is, yeah. You can. I don't know if you can see there's a little Sasquatch logo.
Is he related to Chewbacca, by the way?
They're both kind of hairy. Yeah. Yeah, they're both kind of hairy. So yeah, I think they're related. But anyways, I think my podcast studio is getting kind of complete here. So
is Sasquatch so like that stunt I just pulled on you with Cambridge Library?
Yeah.
Is a bit of a hoax, right?
It is a hoax. Yeah.
Question.
You got me. Yeah.
Is Sasquatch hoax or not a hoax?
So I think there's been photos of Sasquatch that were deemed to be hoaxes, but the legend of a large creature wandering around the woods is you know, it's in different, if it's in different countries and different continents. So there's a legend of a story. I don't know if that's a hoax, but definitely some people have created a hoax from the stories. So I don't know. It's almost like Loch Ness Monster. Is it a hoax, or is it a legend that some people have hoaxed or had, taken pictures that were a hoax? So I don't know.
I think what that is definitely consistently bad photography at a minimum, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because everybody carries a camera in their pocket now, and we still haven't seen pictures of aliens and Sasquatch and Loch Ness. Shocking.
All we've got are really old, blurry black and white pictures of the Loch Ness Monster.
Right, right. Yeah, and it clearly looks like some sort of a hand sticking out of the water, right? So
Wasn't it in Lake Champlain?
there was a monster in Lake Champlain as
Champ.
well.
His name is Champ.
Camp, that's it. Yeah, yeah. I remember hearing those stories. But I think they just wanted some publicity for them. Vermont needed something other than ice cream, right, to talk about. So
And socialism, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Speaking of ice cream, you know what goes really well with ice cream?
Nuts. I don't know.
And you just took that to a really dark, pornographic place. No, coffee.
What?
Coffee.
Oh, coffee. We didn't even talk about our sponsors. This is
so,
too late in the show. Yeah. We
Not
should
at all.
right away.
Not at all.
Yeah. Okay.
We're brought to you by Bottom Gun Coffee, bottomguncoffee.com. Head on over there and tell them we sent you. And one of my favorite things to pair with ice cream is coffee. And I don't mean like coffee flavored ice cream. Have you ever had affogato?
Affogato. No, I don't think so. No. What is that?
Forgot about it.
I forgot about it.
Affogato is like gelato or ice cream, and you
Okay.
pour a shot of espresso over it in the bowl and eat it. And
That
it
sounds
is
good.
decadent. It's delicious, and yeah. So that made me think of ice cream. Makes me think of coffee, which makes me think of Bottom Gun Coffee.
Gun coffee.
Makes me think of our podcast.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's no hoax.
That is no hoax. We're talking hoaxes. We're talking about X Factor hoaxes.
Yeah. At the same time, X Factor hoaxes.
Hoaxes. Yeah, no, this is going to be fun. I'm excited. I know. Yeah.
Hang on. I think we need to clarify something for some people.
Go ahead.
Okay. So we're recording this. Full disclosure, we are recording this episode, which you don't really know when it'll be released, assuming it doesn't get deleted, on September 12th, the day after 9/11.
Yes.
And 9/11, they just released more, I guess, investigation reports.
Okay.
From like the 9/11 Commission or whatever, or the federal government just released it, which leads me to wonder, like, what are they trying to distract us from that they're releasing this shit now? But anyway, the parents or the family members of the 9/11 victims asked Biden not to show up at the site on 9/11 unless he releases, their full investigative report. So anyway, got me thinking, more and more people seem to be talking about during the 20th anniversary of 9/11 the fact that like it's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
And it was an inside job in some way, implicating like the government, and how like airplanes couldn't hit the towers and melted steel buildings that were underground in the foundation.
Right.
Or steel beams underground in the foundation. And then like Building 7 didn't get hit, but it crumbled just like it would crumble if it were being professionally imploded with explosives.
Right. Yeah.
So, and I'm not like putting my tinfoil hat on. I have a beautiful hat on. I don't need a tinfoil hat.
Yeah.
But what I am saying is I think some people confuse, John, hoaxes with conspiracy theories. And I want to make sure we are very, very clear that we are not talking about conspiracy theories today, This episode is devoted to hoaxes. So
Yeah.
you being the articulate, intelligent, Cambridge-educated gentleman and
Yes.
scholar that you are, could you explain to our beloved audience, even the P3s, could you explain to everyone the difference between conspiracy theory and a hoax?
Yeah, I think conspiracy theories, like you said, it's when when the public believes one thing, right? When the general population believes one thing, and that a few insiders feel like they have the true story. And it's like the assassination of John F. Kennedy, right? The story is Lee Harvey Oswald shot him, from the book depository, right? But there's all these other,
What's a book suppository? That
well, I
sounds
think so.
painful.
Yeah,
That
it
sounds
sounds terrible.
painful.
It sounds like it hurts. Yeah, but so that's the official story. But then these online sleuths are in these detectives. They've found all this evidence that supports a different theory. So like, is the Earth flat or is it a sphere, right? Or is
All I can tell you is there are flat earthers all over the globe.
yes, exactly. But like the other one is the flat earth. What was did we fake the moon landing? That seems to be a popular one, and people will spend hours and hours researching this and debating it back and forth, and 9/11 was an inside job. That's another one. But it's where internet sleuths kind of try to debunk what is the general
Sandy Hook.
population knows is true.
Sandy Hook. Yep.
Yeah, and hoaxes are, I think, a little bit different. The hoaxes are like you're perpetrating something, perpetrating a fraud, perpetrating a false story.
Sometimes it's a practical joke. Sometimes it's serious. That's what fascinates me about hoaxes. Like P.T. Barnum was famous for hoaxes.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes it's to make money. Sometimes just to get attention. Sometimes it's just to goof the system, right? Just to prove that you can do something. But hoaxes are something that are you're perpetrating some sort of a fraud, and usually it's fairly public, right? And what's funny is that in the age of internet, you would think that creating a hoax would be much more difficult because we have access to so much information.
Yep.
But the truth is, it still happens, and that's the most amazing thing, is that it still happens today. You can imagine things happening, before the internet, and my story actually takes place in the early days before the internet, and you can see how it could have been a hoax, and it could have perpetuated for a long time before anyone could figure it out.
Let's jump into that.
Yeah, well, so it's kind of funny. I was one of those kids, and I kind of grew up in the 70s and 80s, and back then it was like the UFO phenomena was really, really big, right? And so we had Project Blue Book, like it was a TV show and they would investigate these UFO sightings, and ET was in the movies, and so there was kind of there was like a Area 51 was popular, and everybody wanted to know what it was, and so. Whether it wasn't really a conspiracy theory, just that everybody sort of everybody had different beliefs on UFOs. And of course, there was never, some of the pictures turned out to be hoaxes and all that fun stuff. So, I was always fascinated with it. I always wanted to believe that there were aliens landing in our backyard, and of course.
I still believe there are.
Well, yeah, even the military just admitted that. That's the kind of funny thing about 2021 is that the government just actually said, yeah, there's aliens. And we all went, okay, whatever. We're more worried about COVID and mandates and whatever. So, but so the one thing that always fascinated me, the one element of the whole UFO story that my wife will even tell you that I still, up until maybe a few years ago, I was always fascinated with, which was crop circles. I've always thought they were kind of an amazing thing because they were so large, and they were so, in a way, beautiful, right? And every time you saw a photograph, they were taken from the sky looking down. There was these complex geometric patterns formed in these fields, and the theory was that this is where a UFO landed, right? And so this is what it looked like when they landed. And there was, I remember when it first started, And
Yeah, it was like pre-drone footage. How'd you even get the pictures? Oh,
yeah,
it must have
yeah.
been taken from the spaceship.
Right, as they were
Yeah.
taking off, exactly. So they started in the late 70s, and really nobody knew much about them. They were they were all being done in England, right? Mostly in England. And in the late 70s they started, but not really much was talked about it. But basically into the 80s, it started to become like like international news was publishing these photographs and telling these stories
Yep.
about these mysterious crop circles, and they were trying to link it to all these crazy things, whether it was Stonehenge or Indian burial mounds, or was it UFOs, and it was interesting because it attracted all these ufologists. I don't know what they call them, but that's what I'm going to call them, right? These people who are into UFOs, and they were
Good
trying to,
word. Good
yeah,
word.
ufologists.
Ufologist?
I don't know, but they would go in there. I remember
I'm
seeing
not a
like,
ufologist. Ufologist?
but I remember them going in with like divining rods and walking the circle, and the rods would move, and they say, "See, this is clearly some sort of spaceship has been here," and working to explain it. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but you remember Led Zeppelin came out with an album, right? It was their box set. It was released in September of 1990 and had an image of a crop circle on the cover. I don't know if you remember that one, but
I don't
I
remember
do
that.
distinct. Yeah, but it was
Before I was born, old man.
yeah, well, and most of them were taken. Most of these things happened around this area called Wiltshire in England, and so, anyways, this went on from the late 70s into about 1991, and September 9th, 1991, which was really right now, 30 years ago, almost to this day.
Yep.
Two guys came out. It was
We
Doug
worked very
Bauer.
hard to time these episodes up for you folks.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, so almost 30 years ago today, two guys came forward, Doug Bauer and Dave Chorley, and they said, you know what? Hey, by the way, all those crop circles that you've been seeing, we made them. And the truth is they did. So they used simple tools. They had like a plank of wood, rope. They had a baseball cap fitted with like a loop so they could kind of look on the horizon. And they designed and made these really intricate geometric patterns. And then they built them in the field at night. And it's kind of interesting because Doug Bauer actually lived in Australia prior to coming back to the UK. And there was actually a story.
I'm fine, UK.
UK. So there was actually a story in the late 60s about a crop circle that some farmer claimed that a UFO landed on their property and created a circle in the crop. And so Doug always remembered that. And so one night he was having too many drinks with his buddy Dave, and they said, you know what, let's go and make some of these crop circles. I think we can do it. And they drew up some basic shapes, and then they went out in the field after having way too many beers and made their first crop circle in 1976. And they made more than 200 crop circles from 1976 to 1991. And what's kind of funny is that I was watching a video of one of the men's sons, and he was like, he goes, the signs were all there that my dad was doing this. He said, because he goes, they would always do it on a Friday night. They would drink too many beers and they would wander out in a field. They'd make it. And he said they would always come home at 4 or 5 in the morning. And my father would always leave like a piece of barley or wheat on the kitchen table every night that they had done that to his family. Right. So he learned. But they did it as a bit of a laugh, and then it turned out to be, they had no idea that this was going to be an international phenomenon. They did it as a laugh, as a goof. They did it because they drank too many beers and they were having a good time. And they saw it as a piece of folk art, and it turned out to be more than that. What's really funny is that when they did come forward, and I remember this, they confessed that they were the ones responsible for it. Nobody believed them. Everybody was trying to disprove them. They wanted to believe in crop circles so much that all these people came out and tried to disprove them. But in the end, truthfully, they were the ones doing it. And what's interesting is that the phenomena spread all over the world, right? And so other artists were making these patterns all over the world, in China and Australia and in Russia as well. So So as far as like, why is it X Factor? Well, first of all, it was two guys drinking too many beers and just wanted to go have a laugh, and then they created
We've
this.
never done anything like that. Like have too many bourbons and record a podcast.
Yeah, no, we've never done that.
We
But
wouldn't do
what
that.
it just kind of cracks me up that this what was meant as a joke turned out to be something that for 15 years they perpetuated a hoax on the world, right?
Yeah.
It's
When
pretty
you
cool.
mentioned this, it got me thinking. I remember, they came, as you said, in 1991, they admitted to it, and then no
Yeah.
one believed them. It just shows you how desperately Earth creatures, humans, want to
Yeah.
believe there are beings from another planet that exist. That we're not the only life form. But what's funny is 2 years after that, a crop circle appeared in a field of rye outside of Johannesburg, South Africa, in the first week of February 1993.
Huh.
And what's fascinating about this, besides the fact that it's 2 years after these guys owned, their hoax, was the media started speculating very excitedly that this was the work of a UFO.
Hmm.
It was on TV, the radio. It was just, all the rage and all the talk. And obviously, this is pre-internet. But 2 weeks into February, somebody, most likely not in Johannesburg, South Africa, pointed out something that apparently escaped the public attention, John.
Okay.
When you look carefully at the air quotes, crop circle, it perfectly formed the BMW logo.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, and it turns out to be the work of the Hunt Lascaris ad agency working on behalf of BMW. So you think about the genius of this and all the free media they got from the news, the radio shows, everybody reporting on this globally, right?
Yeah.
I wonder what and they made their own TV commercials of the crop circle, accompanied by the tagline, "Perhaps there's intelligent life out there after all."
Oh my gosh. See, it's
Meaning
brilliant.
BMW drivers.
Yeah.
They estimated that back in 1993, which I wonder what it would be in today's dollars, they received over $1 million worth of publicity from that hoax.
Wow.
I mean, that would be like hundreds of millions of dollars in publicity in today's money, I imagine.
Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, that's interesting. So you capitalize on a hoax, right there. It's kind of interesting. Yeah. So great story. Even after, like, everybody, it's been confessed and we know who actually was doing it. Turns out, like, hey, 2 years later, the interest in crop circles is so large that I'm going to do a BMW logo in a field. And what does it do? It creates brand impressions for BMW. How cool is that?
And people so desperately want to believe it's real.
Yeah.
It was right there in front of them. If you've seen the BMW logo, like,
yeah.
It is so obvious what that image is. It's the BMW logo.
Yeah.
It's like a circle sliced into four equal sized pies, if you will. And the opposite ones, two are blue, two are white, kind of catty corner from each other.
Yeah.
It's just so obvious that's the BMW logo, but people wanted to believe this so badly, they were willing to overlook the obvious.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, maybe we
block it out.
Yeah, maybe we need to do a big X Factor logo in a field one of these days. Maybe it's too late now. Okay. We'll keep that to ourselves.
Yeah, that would be good. I think we need to find a farmer somewhere in northern New Hampshire.
Okay.
And, a farmer who is savvy at, say, making corn mazes. Right?
Yeah.
They're good with all the details and the nuances of like cutting it and making it look perfect. And we'll do the X Factor logo there.
I like it.
Yeah. Fascinating. Sucker born every minute.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, the world was a sucker. That's what's crazy about it. And I was too. I mean, like every time they become a news report, there's another video of a crop circle formed, and like a part of me was like, I believe, I wanted to believe, and it turns out it's just two guys drinking beer, having a good time on a Friday night, which is kind of neat.
The disturbing part of the crop circle in Johannesburg, South Africa, it was in a field of rye. And I think
Yeah.
every little bit of rye that isn't used to make rye whiskey
Yeah.
is a crime against humanity if it's used for
Oh,
anything else.
I would have to agree with
Imagine
that.
how much of that rye got wasted.
Yeah, no, I'd have to agree with that. So
It
that's
would have
not
been
good.
whiskey.
So that the story I told, this was a hoax perpetrated, before the time of internet and everybody having a cell phone camera and all that. But I think what you're going to share is one that took place now, where it's not supposed to take place now. Like, there's so many ways that we could research this particular hoax, but yet it still happened. And that's what is so amazing about the story. I didn't even know about it till you talked to me about it the other day. And it's an amazing story.
This
So
is actually what spawned
yeah,
the idea of this should be an episode, X Factor Hoaxes.
this is so X Factor.
We have a Hall of Fame and a Hall of Shame, and this guy belongs in the X Factor Hall of Fame for his hoax.
It's incredible. So Coach Brew, lay it out for us, because this is the hoax of the century here. This is crazy that they pulled this off.
And I just researched. I have a whole timeline of how this happened.
Okay.
There's an article just kind of chronicling it. Anyway, it is like the beginning of football season this fall. And before college football kicked off and before the NFL kicked off, ESPN airs these high school showcase games.
Yeah.
And they'll get high schools from different parts of the country, like the best kind of football factories in America, if you will, against each other. Like modern day high school in California will play like, some powerhouse from the East Coast, and they'll meet somewhere in the middle at a big venue and everything, and ESPN will televise it. So they've been doing this for years, and they use the same basically marketing agency to set these matchups against
right.
other. So I mean, this is like one of the stories of the year, I think, because a lot of people are familiar with IMG Academy. It started out as a Nick Bollettieri tennis clinic, and it was basically like a high school tennis factory, and then they branched out into other sports like golf. I'm not sure if it was like David Ledbetter Golf or who it was, but it turned into like a sports academy, which is now morphed into a prep school. They have lacrosse, football, soccer, basketball. You name the sport, they've got the best of the best athletes that they've recruited to come play there, and then they place them in all these Division I programs across the country. So IMG was selected for this ESPN showcase game earlier this month, and they were paired up against a school, a private, seemingly Catholic school in Ohio that goes by the name of Bishop Sycamore, which just sounds like a nice, quaint sort of. It just sounds like a prep school.
It does.
If you're not really paying attention. Okay?
The name makes me laugh now when you think about it. But anyway, still go on with the story.
We'll come back to the name and how that's a red flag in a minute. Right. But they began to undergo some scrutiny because they're supposed to be like one of the best teams in America, and they, claimed that they had over 20 kids who have already been offered like Division I full scholarships at top 10 programs for colleges. Anyway, they'd started to get scrutinized when they started to get their doors blown off early in the game. And the announcer, Anish Shroff, who is a pro, he does a lot of college lacrosse broadcast. He went to Syracuse University's Newhouse School of Broadcasting. The guy is a pro's pro when it comes to his craft. And he was explaining how they couldn't get an accurate roster with jersey numbers positioned or names for any of these Bishop Sycamore players. Apparently, Bishop Sycamore just played a game 2 nights earlier, and they were wearing the exact same uniforms. Like, did they even wash their jerseys and pants? They weren't wearing like white uniforms on Thursday and black uniforms on Saturday. And they ended up, like, I think he started to get a little suspicious during the game and just said, like, we can't control what we're seeing here, or the fact that, they only have like 21 players. Like, all we can do is broadcast the game and, cast our, kind of questions about things. So they ended up losing 58-0.
It was close.
Yeah. I mean, it probably could have been a lot worse, right? So basically, it comes out that Bishop Sycamore was not an elite prep football powerhouse. And it later comes out, essentially, it's not even really a school. So, like,
this is nuts.
Side note, ESPN was so desperate for like a feel-good, woke sort of, here's this rich prep school, IMG Academy at the best of the best, these resources which are state-of-the-art, and then here's this faith-based school in the hood, with underprivileged kids who are just doing great things. So, like, ESPN, being as woke as they are, just gravitated to this school and said, yes, let's put them on. And apparently
they were excited about the message of the story.
Apparently they played one of these games a year prior too.
Yeah.
So this isn't the first rodeo for Bishop Sycamore with this. Anyway, let's backtrack, and I will give you the timeline and chronology of the whole thing. So we're going to go back to fall of 2018. This was when a guy by the name of Roy Johnson, who eventually coincidentally became the head coach of Bishop Sycamore, started an online charter school. Online charter school, just shady to begin with, just by their very nature. They tend to just be diploma factories for people who can either scratch a check or for athletes who can't get eligible to regular school. It was called Christians of Faith Academy. And coincidentally or not, the school had an identical goal as Bishop Sycamore would go on to have, helping at-risk youth.
Yes.
After scrutiny by state officials, it was impossible to determine whether classes were actually taking place. The school's license eventually was revoked by the state of Ohio. I believe they're somewhere outside of Columbus, Ohio. And a year later, they rebranded as Youth Build Centurions. And apparently Youth Build is one word. Youth Build Centurions.
Okay.
There was another online charter school with football team, which kind of served as like its public face, its marketing arm or whatever. And then I don't know if it was outstanding debts or what. They rebranded again as Bishop Sycamore. Yes, apparently is named after a Catholic tree.
Yeah. That should have been a giveaway.
Red flag, right?
Yeah, the name just cracks me up now. Like,
and then your second red flag, John, isn't apparently, if you're ESPN, it's not that it's a Catholic tree, or that its initials are BS.
Right, that's the other thing that makes me laugh. Yeah.
Yep. So they went 5-6 in their first season against a schedule that only featured one Ohio school, and they basically were like a traveling. I would say traveling circus. They would say a traveling elite high school prep football program.
Okay.
So then they had a game canceled that year when a school in West Virginia that was on their schedule learned they had numerous players on the roster over the age of 18.
Right.
But wait, there's more. It gets even better. They played their first recorded actual football game, losing 35-0 to a non-conference opponent. Apparently, they're even in a conference in Ohio. But ahead of the game, the athletic director, Dave Brown, spoke to the Independent, which is a regional newspaper somewhere, about his approach to building a team, which curiously notes that he does not want players or coaches to look up information about the team online. I try and encourage our athletes and our coaching staff to stay off the internet.
Yeah.
Which is interesting considering their online school. That isn't your next red flag, ESPN, right? So in October of 2020, they played IMG for the first time in their season finale. They lost 56-6, finished the season 0-6. Their closest game was a 37-14 loss. And then Bishop Sycamore and IMG would go on to meet again, this time this year, this time on ESPN. To avoid people kind of catching on, their website for a long time this past spring was closed for maintenance, shut down for maintenance.
Oh, that's convenient.
When
for
it
an online
reopened,
school.
it mentioned nothing about educational goals, support for students, anything like that. It was basically a blog page for their football program.
Nice.
That's it. They posted workouts, highlight clips, things like to help kids get recruited. They opened their season this year with a 38-0 loss to Archbishop Hoban, not Archbishop Walnut, not Archbishop Elm.
Right.
Yeah, not a Catholic tree, a Catholic priest, a bishop, an archbishop, a cardinal. Like these are names that schools get named after.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, they then lost their next game, 19-7, to some other, like online diploma factory. On August 29th, they played ESPN. I played IMG on ESPN. They were absolutely outmanned and outmatched, and it became a safety issue, really. So people who are watching the game, like God bless social media and Twitter, started learning and tweeting about the fact that Bishop Sycamore was not a person. He wasn't an actual bishop.
Yeah.
Shocker,
Yeah.
right? There's nothing known about the school. Nothing could be found online. A reporter started investigating the school. Found out they played those 2 games in 3 days. He questioned ESPN about how the school even got put on TV.
Yeah.
And then learned that this company called Paragon Marketing Group was like the third party that arranges these matchups. And so how does Paragon not do their due diligence? How does ESPN not do their due diligence? How does IMG, after blowing them out 56-6, not do their due diligence, and they just re-up for another game the next year? That doesn't help them. I mean, it's just bizarre. There are 2 different addresses listed. Someone went online and found that the address listed for Bishop Sycamore was basically a row house in a residential community in Columbus.
Nice.
And then another address was listed as a library at Franklin University, at a college completely unaffiliated with Bishop Sycamore. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. There's a picture online of this little duplex that is supposedly Bishop Sycamore's headquarters. It's just fascinating.
Well, it doesn't take, it wouldn't take but just a little bit of checking to be able to verify they were who they were, right? Before they played on ESPN. Think about, whether, looking at the website or what have you, but just looking, and then the other thing, looking at their schedule, right? And their past history of performance. What about them makes it sound like a compelling matchup? Seems like they've lost most of their games they've ever played in their history for 2 or 3 years, right? So
Yeah.
what makes this to be a matchup other than like you mentioned, the woke? It's the elite prep school versus the kids from
Underprivileged kids from the hood.
underprivileged kids. So it makes it a great story. But how about like doing a little bit deeper dive on the story before you run it?
And I think there's the lesson for business owners, leaders, entrepreneurs is like everyone, apparently except for Bishop Sycamore, everyone leaves a digital footprint today.
Yes. Yeah.
But they left enough of one, if you just did a little Google of it, to find a lot of red flags.
Yeah.
None larger than the fact that on August 30th, there was an active GoFundMe trying to raise, like this is on the heels of their ESPN appearance, an active GoFundMe to raise 20 grand for Bishop Sycamore for their football equipment.
Good. No, that's nice.
It had since been shut down. It only received $140. So you're this national powerhouse that has such a huge fan base. You received $140 out of a 20 grand goal fundraiser. And it's crazy. They then shut their website down for maintenance again, conveniently, right? And now schools started backing out of their contracts for the remainder of the season with Bishop Sycamore. Kids who had previously gone there started speaking out, saying, yeah, we never actually went to any classes on or offline. We were living in like hotels and apartments, 5, 6 to a room. There's like no meal plan. We were totally on our own.
Oh, wow.
And all we did was go to practice and playing games. There were kids who had failed out of junior colleges who were playing for Bishop Sycamore. Kids who were in their 20s, young men who were in their 20s, playing in this fake high school team, which somehow made it onto ESPN. I mean, this has to be one of the greatest sports hoaxes. Never mind, maybe even one of the greatest hoaxes of all time. Yeah. Considering, like, you have the power of the internet. You couldn't Google and go to Google Images and look at crop circles in the 1980s.
Right, exactly. That's the point. That's what makes this hoax so much more unique. Is that a 12-year-old with a computer could have figured out these guys were fake. You know what I mean? And
this guy's a modern day Harry Houdini, basically.
Right.
He was able to get away with this.
Yeah, it's really a crazy story. And remind people, this is 2021, not even 2001, or it just happened. Like this just happened this year, which is absolutely nuts. I started seeing memes on Twitter, and I didn't know what it was because I wasn't familiar with the story. I'm not maybe as in touch with sports as I probably should be, but I just remember seeing they were talking. I saw something about Cam Newton signing with Bishop Sycamore, and I was like, wait, what? Like, wait, what is going on? Who are these people?
He might be a little young to play there.
He might be a little young. Yeah. So that's a crazy story, but and the other thing too,
due diligence, people. That's the takeaway. That's the lesson.
Oh yeah, and the other thing is, as entrepreneurs, as business leaders, I mean, there are so many scams out there. Be careful. I mean, I don't know how many times I get called where somebody wants, oh yeah, we want to feature. The one thing is, I want to feature you in an article. We've heard so many great things about your company. Want to feature in your article? Send us, $8,000, and we'll feature you in our fake magazine, and we'll send you copies of it or something like that. I remember when I first started the company, that was like, I kept getting these calls. People wanted to, feature our company in their magazine. I'm like, we're not even a company yet. We haven't made a product yet. There's just...
You'll be happy to know, John, that the Ohio governor is pushing for an investigation.
Well, good. I love how the government...
Yeah, because we don't have enough going on in this country or in each state in this country between a pandemic, small business closures, debt, supply chain challenges. We need to investigate a fake online charter school.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to use tax dollars to do that, not to shore up our supply chain or,
Well, it's just like one of these things that, like, these guys could just say, we identify as a high school football team, and it's okay. Like, I wonder how many people are identify as they're vaccinated.
Oh,
I don't
plenty
know.
of people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we can, because now, if some of these things like gender being a social construct, shouldn't, vaccination status be a social construct? Shouldn't, whether you're a high schooler or a fake high school, shouldn't that just be a matter of a social construct?
I identify as a prep school.
I like it. I like it.
I'm going to find 10 other kids my age, and I
Yeah.
identify as a sophomore because I'm sophomoric. I'm going to find
Right.
10 other kids, and
Yeah.
we're going to identify as a varsity football team.
I like that. I'm going to do a kid. What do they call those? One of those kid bands or the boy bands. I'm going to get 3 other guys. We're going to do a boy band.
What would you call yourself if you were a boy band?
I don't know. Too old? I don't know.
Too old? That's the best you could come up with?
I'm too old to dance. uh, I don't know.
I think you guys should call yourselves the nuclear option.
The nuclear option. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I played in a band in high school. Did I ever tell you this?
No.
I was a drummer in a rock band in high school, and our name of our band was Contraband, which I still think is a good name for a band.
Great. I would go with that. I'd get the band back together.
Yeah. I don't know if we could find them. We were never that good, but yeah. But yeah, crazy story. Yeah, and it's so many red flags, but everybody ignored it because the story was too good.
And it speaks to the intellectual laziness of our society. That's the disturbing part to me.
It really does. Yeah.
Like, we're intelligent, articulate, bright people. So are our listeners. None of them would have been conned by this if they were putting together a matchup between 2 programs. Be televised on national TV, because they're not intellectually lazy. But so much of our country is intellectually lazy. It's disturbing.
Yeah, it really is. It's,
I was having a conversation. This is a little tangential, but very relevant. Conversation with a guy I know. We're talking about if you see these on like ballots, they have these different initiatives, vote yes on one or vote no on one. I forget what they're called. What are they called? These initiatives? And
no, you're right. The ballot initiatives. That's exactly what they are. Yeah.
Okay. So they're written in such a way that you don't know if you're voting for it or if you're against it.
They're filled with double negatives, and you're like, what is going on?
By design, and they've tested that. And I go back to something, and he was telling me this, and I didn't know it, but the Barack Obama, when he first entered office, felt like all government documents should be written on a 4th grade level, using 4th grade language, so that the average American can understand what the government is doing, what you'd be voting on, and these different initiatives on your ballot and all that. And I'm listening to that, and I'm thinking, part of me thinks that is great. And the other part of me is just so sad and disheartened that we have to dumb down what we do to a 4th grade level. So, like I said, it's kind of tangential, but kind of relevant. We're just intellectually lazy, and we wonder why other countries are surpassing us with, math scores, science. The Chinese Navy is now larger and more powerful than ours. Correct?
Is that correct? It is, and they're getting a submarine fleet that's pretty sizable and capable. So it's I think
just a greater work ethic and a greater commitment to learning.
Yeah, they're definitely hungrier. I know, I made many trips to China, and what I saw back, over the last 15 years I've been going to China is that they look like the United States in the 1950s post World War II, where we were just booming. Like, you couldn't stop us back then. We were building, infrastructure, we were building cars, we were building businesses, we were booming. And
We had a manufacturing base.
yeah, we had a manufacturing base. We were putting people on the moon. It was just it was just so much
That was
happening in our
staged, by the
country.
way. That's a hoax. Yeah.
Good possibility. Yeah, yeah. That flag, fluttering. You're like, I don't think that's right. But no, but I think what I've been seeing for a long time is China, emerging as this next great superpower. And to be honest with you, I almost see the United States as being what England is today, like a used to be superpower. I mean, the UK is like they're a shell of their former self, right? They were a global dominant superpower, and now they are. I mean, just a kind of a sad. They don't have the same power they used to have. Compared to, and I think someday that I think we're heading in that direction. I really do, based on
we have this arrogance. We have this arrogance and this denial that we're
Yeah.
not, which is a really dangerous place to be.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. I think
Back to back World War champs, baby. Yeah, but what's happened since then?
Yeah, and then we just kind of pulled out of
Been a
Afghanistan
downward
after
slide
20
ever
years.
since, right?
It's funny because we in Vietnam we handicapped our the guys on the ground. We gave them too many rules for engagement and what have you. And then I remember on Norman Schwarzkopf saying in the first Desert Storm that we are not going to do Vietnam over again. We're going to unleash the U.S. military on the Iraqi troops, and we did. Right? It was a violent war, but it was a very quick war, and we walked out of there. And then we should have learned that lesson. That's the way you do war. You go in, you're violent, and you get the heck out. Right? You accomplish your objectives and get out. And what did we do?
Shock and awe. That's where the term shock and awe came
100%. And then what did we do in Afghanistan and Iraq? Is we went there, we stayed there for 20 years, and we handicapped our troops with all these rules of engagement. And a lot of people died. And then at the end of the day, we pull out in the middle of the night like we did Vietnam. And it's really sad. And I do feel for all the veterans who served in those conflicts, for the 13 Marines and sailors that lost their lives, in the last few days there.
They're all young too.
They're young, they weren't even born, right? I mean, they were little kids when 9/11 happened. I mean, it's I don't know. It's really sad. And I don't know. I'm still not over it. And I'm still pissed off about it. And I don't know. I don't know what the future has for this country, but certainly we're heading in the wrong direction, I think. But this is not a political show, but
we can't end this on a downer, JR.
No, let's not.
Yeah, I mean, where's the country headed? You got Sasquatch making flags.
Yes, we got Sasquatch making flags, right? And American flags. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, there's hope. I mean, I guess just 13 people changed the world, right? Jesus and his disciples changed the world. I think a few good men, good women who are going to stand up to some of this stuff can change this country as well. So I am hopeful for the future, but
I do have questions about the Apostle John.
Why?
No, Paul. It was Paul.
Paul? Why?
And his letters to the Corinthians.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times are you going to write somebody who never writes back?
He just kept writing. Yeah.
He just kept sending them. They never wrote back.
I know. Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I kind of question that guy.
Yeah. Well, he changed his name too. He was Saul and then became Paul. Kind of confusing, but
they had federal witness relocation back then.
They did, absolutely.
Wow, that was a sophisticated society.
Sure, yeah.
Or is that a hoax?
No, I don't. It could be a hoax. I don't know. Yeah.
What did you have a runner-up hoax? You said crop circles right away, but
yeah, no, I didn't even have to think about it. Yeah, I don't know if I have a runner-up hoax. I mean, obviously there's frauds, which are kind of slightly different than hoaxes. Yep. But no, I think each one of some of the UFO stories turned out to be a hoax, but these are singular events, right? So the crop circle to me was kind of interesting because it went on for so long, and it got so much attention. So no, I don't know. I don't think I had a runner up. How about you? Did you have one that you were thinking of? I think you mentioned Houdini as one, right? As
Harry Houdini
Yeah.
and PT, two of my just two of the people I think are X Factor marketers are
Oh
Harry
yeah,
Houdini and PT Barnum.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Barnum did a lot of hoaxes.
Yeah.
He um, he built the American Museum or the Museum of
Mhm.
America or whatever he called it.
Yeah.
He actually bought a museum and then like completely renovated the building. But what he did was he created like this outdoor deck on the second floor overlooking Main Street or like the
Yeah.
whatever road they're on in New York City. And he hired the worst band in New York City that he could find that just sounded horrible to stand out there on that patio and play music because people would go inside to escape the music outside. People would pay to buy a ticket back then to go in to escape the horrible sounding music outside. So he did that. He hired a guy to lay bricks on the street. And then, once he moved all these bricks from one area, he would go into the museum, walk into the different exhibits, and then pass out outside, and then go back to like laying all these bricks and moving these bricks. And like he told the guy, he said, "I have a job for you. You're going to make 15 cents a day." Back then, I guess that was a
Yeah.
good wage. Maybe it still is in China if you're an 8-year-old making Nikes. But so he hired this guy and he just said, "Listen, here's your job. You're gonna lay all these bricks down and move them down the road in front of the museum. And I don't want you to answer any questions to anybody. I'm not even telling you why you're doing it. Don't talk to people. Pretend you're deaf. Pretend you're deaf and dumb and mute. You can't speak. You just do this, then go inside, go through each exhibit, and then collapse, and then start over." And so many people wanted to know what was going on in the museum because they're watching him outside do this that like ticket sales went through the roof. Total hoax, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Total hoax. The fake mermaid, total hoax.
Yeah. Yeah.
He found a midget. I don't even know if we're allowed to call them that in 2021. A dwarf. Can we call them that? No, that would be Sneezy and Sleepy and whoever. There's 7 of them.
Yeah.
A little person.
Yeah.
And he changed the guy's name from whatever it was to General Tom Thumb,
Yeah.
like he was an actual general. And all it was like there was nothing special about the guy. He was just a dwarf.
Right.
And to make him look even smaller, he included in their advertisements and their posters pictures of the dwarf standing next to the giant, which he also
Yeah.
had a giant there
Yep.
with the circus. And like he wasn't a general, and then like his replacement, I guess he gave them the name of Commodore, and he wasn't a Commodore.
Yeah.
But like, so there are all these little hoaxes that he would run. So his PT Barnum and his business partner was Bailey. They would play
Yeah.
practical jokes on each other
Yeah.
to get people interested in coming to the circus. So he was definitely my runner-up, and then like third place probably would have been Houdini.
Yeah.
Houdini's probably like the greatest solopreneur marketer because he operated completely alone. Barnum had, quote, employees with the circus and museum and his other businesses, but just everybody loves, I think, secretly loves a good hoax. There's so many people entertained by Bishop Sycamore, that
Yeah.
whole thing. There's so
Yeah.
many people entertained by crop circles. They secretly want to believe they're real.
Yeah.
Like, I think, and again, like it's bittersweet. This is a dumbing down of society. We want to believe something that's completely unbelievable. And
Right.
we do
Right.
so because we're intellectually lazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same
We
time,
are.
we love being entertained.
Yeah. It's funny because, with crop circles, I kind of knew it was fake, but I wanted to believe. Like I wanted to, like I wanted to think that something was really happening, And
I mean,
but
you know about all these other planets and the moon and the stars, and you
yeah,
look up in the sky at night, and you can't help but think we can't be alone,
right,
right?
exactly. Yeah, so you
And
want to believe,
everybody thinks they've seen a UFO at some point.
right?
So you
Right.
want to believe that crop circles are really like a spaceship that landed here from Mars. The little
Yeah,
green men got out and said, "Oh my God!" Like,
yeah.
no,
We got to
yeah,
lay
look,
down
we're
this
here.
barley. Yeah, just right.
Chick-fil-A isn't even open on Sunday on planet Earth. We're going back where we came from.
Oh, but it's just funny to hear that they were doing it on Friday nights. The kind of the son figured it out. Like, oh, why is Dad always out every Friday night till 5 a.m? And it wasn't just
Redneck activities.
right,
Yep.
exactly. Well, that's good. I love it. That's great stories, great X Factor. I do think Bishop Sycamore is a great story, especially because it's happened so recently. It just shows, what can be perpetrated even in an internet connected society. It's crazy. So
I would love to know what some of our listeners think should be Hall of Fame X Factor people or things or organizations or whatever. I'd love to know what our listeners think.
yeah.
Or you're watching this on YouTube. So yeah, give us a like if you enjoyed the show. That's the best way you can help us out. Like it,
Yep.
share it, subscribe. We go to serious lengths. It's an investment of our time to bring this to you. We don't charge you anything for it.
Yes.
Pay it forward. If you're amused or educated by this, share it with somebody. That's all we ask.
Yep.
We're not having a GoFundMe like Bishop Sycamore. We're not asking you to pay for this. Apple does do paid subscription podcasts now. We're not asking for that. We're just asking you to give us a little love and emotional support. Basically, we're high maintenance and needy.
Oh,
And that's what
100%.
you want. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. You could send us money.
Yes, you can.
It's easier for you.
Yeah. Actually, if you send us money, we'll send you a book. I think you got a website, Coach Brew, and I do as well.
I do.
So,
I have a new updated second edition. If you look over my shoulder, see Stadium Status. Why don't I just go show you a copy, JR?
I have not seen the second edition to Stadium Status. I've read the first edition twice. So
this is the author review copy.
Oh,
this
I
is
like
the
it.
New edition.
I like
Not to
it.
be confused with the boy band New Edition.
Or too old.
Yep.
Yeah. I like it. I like it.
Yeah. Having the audio book recorded as we speak.
Nice.
Fun fact.
Yes.
Do we have time for a story?
We don't have a time limit on the X Factor.
Yeah. So, fun fact, I was auditioning people for my audio book, and you give them a couple of pages to read and record and send you, and you decide who you like. And then you make an offer to them. And as I'm reviewing these audition tapes, for lack of a better term, I'm listening to this one voice. I'm thinking, this dude sounds really familiar.
Yeah.
Which is a little weird. Like, why would this guy's voice sound familiar? Did he previously do any of my other audiobooks? No. The name sounds familiar. Like, I know him from somewhere. I thought I knew the name from somewhere.
Yeah.
And I heard the voice. I'm like, I definitely know this voice. So, thanks to Google and thanks to me not being intellectually lazy, I do my due diligence. I look at his bio. I look at his website. And I go to his About Me page on his website. And he has been the voice of the NHL's Philadelphia Flyers since 1993, I believe.
Nice.
I used to live in the Philly area in South Jersey when I was in grad school at Temple University, and I would listen to the Flyers games. When I wasn't going to them, I would listen to them on the radio. His name's Jim Jackson.
And did he get the job?
James Jackson. And I just thought he used to broadcast the Phillies games as well. He's no longer
Yeah.
with the Philadelphia Phillies. So I just thought, like, first of all, how cool is that? It's such a small world. I remember that dude from my time in the Philly area. And if you have written a book called Beyond Stadium Status, and you've written a book called Stadium Status, and a sequel
Yeah.
called Beyond Stadium Status, that person who calls a stadium his office and also voices over audiobooks as a hobby, probably that's a sign from God
Yeah.
that, and I'm not kidding, I really believe this, things happen for a reason. It's a sign from God that this is the person who was meant to do this. And I offered him that job and to voice over Beyond Stadium Status as well.
Nice. Fantastic. That's great news.
So
I'm
I just
excited.
replied to his audition email. I'm like, your voice sounds really familiar. Do I know you?
Yeah.
And I said, is this, I played dumb. I'm like, is this the same guy? Is this the same Jim Jackson that was the voice, or is the voice of the Flyers and was back when I lived in Philly and I used to listen to him on the radio all the time? And he's like, yep, that's me.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
just funny,
definitely stadium status.
small world story, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. That's great. Great news. I'm looking forward to hearing that. Is the new edition, are there more stories that you added to the original stadium status?
So I updated some of the information in the chapters and some information about some of the people who have moved on to different jobs.
Okay.
And then I also added an author's note in the beginning and updated all the back matter in the back. It's largely the same book. It's just updated and revised
Okay.
for essentially, really, for people who have not purchased stadium status already,
I love
or
it.
who just collect all of my books and want the latest creation to add to their collection, and they want me to sign it.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. So
Yeah.
when is that going to be out, you think?
They should both be done by the end of the month. I am anticipating like maybe by October 15th, though,
Yeah.
just to allow a little cushion and
Okay.
have them for sale at the end of October.
Yeah,
And I'll
I
probably
would
do
say
something to like bundle them, you know.
yeah.
And we need to talk about another project that I want to unleash on the world, which is Dashboard University.
Ooh,
So I would like to
that.
put both of our audiobooks, all of our podcasts on this website so people can just click the link to order
Yep,
or
yep.
subscribe. And because you think about how much, the average commute time in the United States is 23 minutes each direction.
Right.
So there are people who commute far longer and some who commute shorter, but people are spending 45 minutes commuting every day.
Yeah, yeah.
You
No,
could get the equivalent of an MBA just by listening to professional development audio during your commute instead of listening to the negative news cycle or, garbage on the radio.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's mostly commercials now. So
Yep.
yeah, it's good to break away from that and get some education, get some learning. And I was going to say, for those who haven't listened to your audio version of Seeds of Success, I think it's a great book, but the audio version is really well done. I think.
The guy that narrates it does a great job changing his voice
Yes.
to different characters.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you noticed that. That was the number one thing that I was looking for when I selected people in those auditions.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's
Yeah.
such a great audiobook. So I have, I think, 11 credits on Audible right now. I've got to spend. So hurry up. I'll go spend my money.
That's awesome.
on
Yeah.
those, so
So we need to talk dashboarduniversity.com at some point offline. I do have the URL, and people hopefully soon can expect to see all of our stuff on that platform and some of our other friends and colleagues that we respect and
I
who
think
are
that's
like-minded. I'm surprised that we gave Parker the Zoom link. I'm surprised he did not call in on his way home from the Flo Rida concert.
No, not at all. I didn't hear from him at all. So we thought he might try to dial in and show off his boots with the fur, but we haven't heard from him.
cupcakes, they stole the show. So sexual, she was flexible, professional, drinking Xano. Hold up, wait a minute, do I see what I think I will? Did a thing I seen, sure they get low. Ain't the same when it's up that close. Make it rain, I'm making it snow. Work the pole, I got the bang roll. I'ma say that I prefer them no clothes. I'm into that, I love women exposed. She threw it back at me, I gave her more. Cash ain't a problem, I know where it goes. She had them apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur. The whole club was looking at her. She hit the floor. Next thing you know, shawty got low.
That's it.
I bet you had baggy sweatpants and the Reeboks with the strap back in the day, JR.
I don't think so.
He did.
I don't
He
think
had a
so.
mullet with that, but he had that.
Maybe.
Yeah. All right, man. This has been great, John.
It's been fun.
Covered
Yeah, absolutely.
a lot of ground. You know what's not a hoax?
What's that?
Bottom gun coffee.
I was gonna think you were gonna say that. Bottom Gun Coffee, bottomguncoffee.com. Our friends over there, they make the best coffee. I just had some this morning.
I
Yeah.
especially love the pumpkin spice latte.
I don't think they have that.
Yeah, that was a hoax.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, no, they're good company, good product. And ever since I switched over, it's hard to drink anything else. So it's good stuff. So we
You
highly
like it
recommend
strong.
them. Yeah.
You like it strong. That's the coffee for you.
Yeah, it's good.
Strong, bold coffee. And it doesn't matter which kind you get. I really like it because it's so strong.
Yeah, there's a difference. I mean, there's a difference between good coffee and supermarket coffee. And if you haven't made the switch or haven't tried it, highly recommend you try it. Bottom Gun Coffee, good group of guys, great coffee, and
Use promo code DFE and you will get $0 off.
Yeah, DFE, exactly, $0 off, 100%. So, well, that's
We get
it.
nothing from him. You should get nothing from Parker as well.
Absolutely.
Promo code DFE, get 0.
Get 0.
All right, JR.
That's it.
We will catch you all in the next episode of the X Factor podcast. We got to run. We have some bourbon to drink.
Yes.
We've got a lawn tractor, a weed whacker, a couple machetes. We're going to go out and we're going to make a crop circle.
That sounds like fun.
See you next episode, folks. Bye-bye.
Take care.
This is P1 listener Drew Hashimura, and you're listening to the X Factor podcast, where I come for great book recommendations.